So I didn't realize there was going to be a mental game until it started to actually hit me like a semi truck. I decided to start making voice recordings while I was hiking, but they really helped strengthen that connection that I was missing.
But definitely towards the end, like the last 2 months were pretty hard. And I remember telling she's actually, it's like, I just want to see my people back home and like, I'm just ready for that. So it was pretty tough towards the end.
Through hikers are backpackers who hike a very long trail sometimes for many consecutive months. Today, I'm talking with two Appalachian Trail AT through hikers, Giggles and Two Shoes, to hear their perspective about the mental, emotional, and social aspects of long distance hiking. How being away from family and friends back home for so long impacts you and your relationships. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of hikers say the mental game is a big part of through hiking. Can you share your thoughts and any stories you have about the mental game of through hiking?
Absolutely. So I didn't realize there was going to be a mental game until it started to actually hit me like a semi truck. Because in the past, all I was really expecting was to get through it and it to be very physically challenging and we'll say logistically challenging. I didn't really expect the mental or the emotional side of it. And I'll be honest, I would say probably a good like 2 or 3 weeks in, I started to realize, yeah, I do miss my family. I started to miss my brother because I would talk with him on a daily basis, constantly. I would like to hear updates. I would miss both my brothers, technically everybody, but I would talk to them probably the most. And it was very difficult for me to keep in contact with them because service wasn't really a thing that I had just easily accessible. Um, and I did come up with a solution for that, but I didn't know if you wanted that answer now or later or.
Sure, just go with it.
Okay, yeah. So actually, the solution that we came up with was we told each other, hey, uh, there's a lot of pressure on replying to people in a certain time frame. I feel like in today's society. So we told each other, all three of us were like, hey, don't worry about it. We'll get around to it whenever we can. We're all going through different things. Duncan, you don't have cell phone service, and then my brothers, they just were busy with life. So what we came up with was I decided to start making voice recordings while I was hiking. So they would hear the crunch of leaves and they'd hear like birds in the background while I'm talking about either this crazy experience I had or the newest thing in the story that I was listening to, or even responding to some of the memos that they gave me. But I would write out a memo or write out a couple prompts that I wanted to touch base on. I would record the memo, I would title it, and then once I had service, I would send them kind of like a group of like letters. So if I made multiple, I would just send them all out while I was in town. And that's kind of how I was able to stay in contact with them. And it helped not only, I don't want to say repair, because I don't feel like it really broke it all, but it really helped strengthen that connection that I was missing.
Wow. Wow. What a great on the fly solution.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And Giggles, your any thoughts on the mental
Yes,
game?
I think like in terms of being apart from a lot of the people I was used to, it took me a little bit longer for that to really hit. I think I've had past experiences where I've gone long stretches and then I'll come back and it was fine, but definitely towards the end, like the last 2 months were pretty hard. And I remember telling she's actually, it's like, I just want to see my people back home and like I'm just ready for that. So it was pretty tough towards the end. I was doing where I would send out like a weekly text to like a group of people, like family and friends, just a heads up, we're still alive, and this is what happened to us the last week, and this is what we saw, and send a couple pictures and stuff. So they were hearing from me once a week,
Mm-hmm.
but I had requested that they don't send any replies just because not all the people knew each other. I was like, I don't want everyone blowing up each other's phones just to
Right.
respond to me. That's kind of dumb.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't hearing a whole lot from them. But I'm lucky that my mom kind of works from home, so I could call her and pretty regularly if that was a spot I had service, she could also find time to talk. So I was
Mm-hmm.
lucky in that. But I also had a couple friends that I would send like long emails to, and those were nice where we could go back and forth, but they were kind of like letters. And speaking of letters, actually, once had my sister, she sent a letter that was a surprise. Like she and Two Shoes somehow corresponded where it would end up. So I got a surprise letter. So that was
So
really
an
special.
actual mail letter, like
yeah, paper
wow,
letter.
what a treasure.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was really late to the memo game. I think I don't think I ever tried it while I was on trail. I guess didn't really know if people had something that it would work on, and I really didn't want to figure out the logistics on the fly, whereas they were more willing to make that work. But I do wish I had hopped on that. I think it would have helped a lot just hearing the other person's voice, and not having to do it live time and make sure that they also have a good time when I have service. So
Right. And Two Shoes, you would like record those on your phone and just save them, and then when you would just attach them to a text or an email message when you had
Yeah,
service.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, they
And
weren't like audio text messages; they were just audio files that you would attach.
yeah, so there was multiple ways to do it. So I personally had an iPhone on the time that I was going out, and you could do that. However, I did find it was much easier to make that audio file, have it saved, so that way, instead of sending an audio message where if it doesn't go, there's a chance that it'll delete itself. So I made one, and then I'm like, all right, as soon as I get to the top of that hill, or as soon as we get to town, I'll just see if I can send that.
Cool. And you both talked about the people that you missed and the people that you wanted to stay connected with. And this is where I really distinguish between mental and emotional. Because what you both talked about primarily to me is the emotional health aspect, not the mental health. And just for the audience, I'm going to offer my definitions, and I'm curious what you think about it. So to me, I define mental health as a person's ability to focus, concentrate, think clearly, perform cognitive tasks. Kind of like the logistics you talk about, getting into town, getting packages, getting resupply. Where are we going for the next week? What's our plan? To me, that's all your mental health. How do I plan this day out? How do I plan my week out? How do I get things done? You're thinking it through, right? I define emotional health as a person's ability to give and receive love. And by love, I mean love, connection, and a sense of belonging. I don't think of emotional health as a person's ability to manage their emotions and recognize their emotions. If you look it up, that's actually the definition of emotional intelligence, is managing your emotions. And we have all kinds of emotions. All humans do. All mammals do, really, which we are. But our ability to give and receive love. And to me, that's what you guys are really both talking about, is our ability to connect and give and receive love. And even though we might have some belonging with our AT community, we still have our community back home, friends and family and things like that. And you have found some ways to manage those relationships, sending letters, sending emails, sending audio messages. And that's what's nurturing your emotional health. So how does that sit with you guys, those definitions?
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I do appreciate the clarity there, because I had kind of like the emotional intelligence and the emotional health. I guess I kind of put those two together. So when you were talking about like the mental side of it, I was like, oh yeah, like it was really hard, but not physically. It was just difficult because I couldn't see my people, so that must have been must have been mental because it wasn't physical. But yeah, I see where you're distinguishing there. So thanks for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so thank you for the clarification. And that's, like Giggles said, it's a very good point. I also put those kind of all at the time, just all in the same basket. Whereas the mental health aspect side of things, that to me, I feel like they were physical fixes that I could do to adjust like my mental clarity. So it's like drinking water, making sure we slept. And a big one that I didn't realize until like halfway through, Giggles and I really struggled with this, and correct me if I'm wrong. when we would go into towns, just the road noise alone or other noises was overwhelming, like immensely overwhelming, because we were so uh, situated with the experience of being in the woods. And maybe we might hear something in the distance, but oftentimes it was kind of quiet. So going into town or being right next to a highway while we're trying to hike into town or hitch into town, it just was very much overwhelming. And it was twice as bad if we were dehydrated because that's just something that felt like a mental overload. It's just way too loud. We couldn't function. We couldn't focus.
Yeah, so if you didn't have those basic physical needs met, then the mental challenge was even more. It was like heightened, and being able to concentrate with all that extra noise and like noise pollution, really based, compared to the trail. It just made it even harder to focus and concentrate and to do what you need to do, to get to town and do those tasks, which is very different than the relationships you're having with your friends and family. Right. So that's why I separate them out. This is a Kevin thing. This is what I do. But I think this is one of the big problems with the whole mental health conversation, because we're not separating them out. We lump emotional health as part of mental health. And I think we're doing a real disservice to humanity by not separating them out. They all interrelate. Physical impacts mental, mental impacts emotional, emotional impacts spiritual, spiritual impacts emotional. They all interrelate, but they're also four separate areas.
Right. Yeah.
And I think if we don't nurture each area specifically, then that area is going to struggle, and the other ancillary, the areas that they impact are going to struggle. She gets back on quick. Hey, you
That's
didn't miss
good.
much. I was really just kind of summarizing why I separate them out. And for me, total well-being is really about nurturing your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health. And I've already shared different definitions for mental and emotional, and I have another different definition for spiritual health. And actually, this does come into play with the AT too. So my definition for spiritual health is a person's ability to know and pursue their purpose in life. What nurtures you at your core, your essence, your soul, the spirit of you. And I think one of the reasons post-trail depression is so common is because for 4 to 6 months or more, people have a singular purpose, a singular focus. And that is every day I am hiking the AT. I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm getting out of bed. That is my purpose. And of course, you can have multiple purposes. You can have long-term purpose and short-term. You can have big ones and little ones, but your purpose every day. But as soon as you get off trail, if you don't have something on the heel ends of your Appalachian Trail thru hike, if you don't have a reason to get out of bed, then you're not nurturing your spiritual health on that daily basis like you need to. And that can lead to depression. What do I do? What's my purpose? Why am I here? Why do I even get out of bed? So I think that's a big reason why post-trail, post-race, post-wedding, postpartum depression is very, very common. With postpartum, it's a little different because there's a lot of chemicals, hormones and things. That's a little bit different. But I think there's still this purpose. You plan for 9 months to have your baby, and then you have it. Now what? Okay, I'll keep it alive, but do I know how to really connect emotionally? And that's this big conversation around emotional health.
Hit it on the head right with the post-trail. Because even like we both had jobs, like we had to get out of bed, go to the job, but I don't know about you two shoes, but it just didn't feel quite as meaningful. So it was like, okay, yeah, it was like a false sense of purpose almost, and it just didn't feel the same at all.
It was like something that was filling the time day to day post trail, but on trail, it's like, this is what really matters to me at my core.
Yeah,
that's a great way of putting it.
Cool. That's what I'm trying to do with all this wellness conversation. So in my day-to-day life, I've created an app, a social app called Uchi, which is spelled UCHI, and it's designed to strengthen relationships and help bring people closer together. It guides conversations by prompting users with questions that they answer in writing only whenever they have time. On Uchi, only your Uchi friends can read your answers, and they can only read your answer if they've already answered that question. A user could, if they want, create their own little Uchi tribe where they come up with the questions and invite a small group of people to participate. So using Uchi and only the written word, people tend to share more authentically and feel truly heard and understood by their Uchi, or in-group in Japanese, which brings them closer together. Do you think the Uchi app could be a helpful tool for thru-hikers in staying connected with their family and friends back home? How do you think that might work out?
From what I've heard so far of the app, I haven't used it personally, but just hearing all of this, it sounds really interesting and kind of want to check it out, definitely. And I would say absolutely. Even any small thing or even any large thing, if you're trying to actively find a way to, continue to have that sort of connection, I think that is absolutely wonderful and is going to, build up and help your relationship. So having, if you don't mind clarifying, what kind of questions are these that are asked?
And they can be as simple as what's your favorite color to deeper, like how would you define your role in your family? Or, look outside your window or your tent. What do you see? How does that make you feel? If there's anything that you could change in your community or in your country, what would it be and why? They can cover any manner of topic. We tend to avoid anything controversial like, religion or abortion. We don't ask questions like that, but you can
Right.
always skip them. And everything it's all done asynchronously. So when you were talking about sharing audio messages that you would record and just upload or send when you had time, that's how the Uchi app is designed to work anyway. You just answer questions whenever you have time, and your friends and family answer questions whenever they have time. And whenever you can read each other's answers, you do, and then you can comment back and forth. But only your Uchi friends can read your answers, and only if they've already answered that question.
Okay. I really like that. I think another thing that might be helpful,
Mm-hmm.
especially with even if you use it AT member to AT member,
Mm.
my first thought is, okay, let's say I've been talking to this guy, I've been talking to Zira for 3 weeks straight, right? We have nothing else that we can think of that we want to talk about. Let's move over to Uchi, where it has, other prompts that we might not have thought about. And it could be something completely related to the AT, or it could be something that is completely contrast, and you learn more about this person
Yes.
without having to, okay, what did we talk about 2 weeks ago? That sort of deal. So it sounds like it would be a really useful tool.
Yeah, that's right on. And with an Uchi tribe, so anyone can create an Uchi tribe. Uchi tribe, there's a fee to create an Uchi tribe, but anyone can create an Uchi tribe, and the tribe leader is the only person who pays. And they come up with up to 10 questions, and they can invite up to 10 people. And when you pair 10 questions with 10 people, that's an Uchi tribe. And once everybody's had a chance to answer the questions and comment back and forth, which usually takes about 1 to 2 weeks, then you could come up with another Uchi tribe. Same people, different questions, pair them together. That's another Uchi tribe. And you can be a part of and create as many Uchi tribes as you want. So you mentioned other AT thru-hikers. Do you think this might be something that a thru-hiker would want to do, like with their tramily or with people that they were hiking with and now they've separated? Or what do you think about that?
Absolutely. I think that would be lovely. Also, I didn't realize that you could, or the creator of the actual group could create the questions, because I start to think about, okay, you can throw in some goofy questions in there, like, okay, do you dig the hole before or after? Or it could be even deep questions,
like,
and having the ability to construct your own questions, I think that makes it even better.
Yeah, that's exactly what
I
it
do
is. Go ahead, Giggles.
Sorry, I do like the fact that it can be really quick if you want it to be, because you only have so much battery that you can use, so it's nice that it can just be like a really quick response, like when you ask like even just a favorite color. But I was curious, so you said something about commenting, so can you like go more than just once you guys read each other's answers, can you go in depth on that afterwards, like maybe you guys want to debate about which one's better or whatever it is? Can you do
Yep.
that?
That's exactly what you
Okay.
can do. Yep. You can go and you can ask follow-up questions and just keep going as long as you want. It's only the written
Okay, great.
word, right? There's no pictures, no video, no audio. There's no like button or heart, none of that.
Mhm.
It's only the written word, but you can use emojis in your writing. So you can put a smiley
Okay.
face, in your writing. And it's very low data. It actually uses less data than text messaging because there's no pictures and video and all that kind of stuff.
That makes a lot of sense. I love that. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, the tribe leader is the one who comes up with the questions, right? And you invite the people in the tribe. And if you invite people to your tribe, they don't have access to all of your regular Uchi activity. And they don't have access to any of your other Uchi tribes. It's all just that little tribe. You can have a tribe of just you and one other person, So you can do all of that.
Can everyone in the tribe see everyone's answers once they provide their own answer? Like, if there's 4 people, can you see 3 other answers then?
Yes. Everyone in the
Okay.
tribe has access to each other's answers and comments in the tribe as long as they answered that question.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you're on like the regular free side of the app, and you answer a question and some of your family and friend, they answer the question, the way it's set up is that everything is siloed. So it's not like a group text message where all this stuff is going back and forth, or like a group email. So basically, when you okay, Giggles, you answer a question and you and Two Shoes can have a whole conversation under your answer to a question. Okay.
Oh.
Then in a whole separate thread, Two Shoes answers the same question. And then you guys can have a whole conversation under his answer to that question. So it's all separated out based on your answer, his answer, and so on. But anybody else who has access to like your answer, Giggles, like if your mom answers and your sister answers and your friend in California answers and Two Shoes answers, they can see each other's replies and comments under your answer, but they cannot see those other people's answer to that question unless they're friends. Did that make sense?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of privacy and security around it, but so we could have a whole conversation under your answer because we're all friends. But if Two Shoes and I aren't friends, then Giggles and I might be having a conversation under my answer, but Two Shoes isn't a part of it because Two Shoes and I aren't friends. And you thought this could be a tool to use with some of your tramily. So for those out there who do not know, a tramily is a trail family. That's a group of people who kind of meet up on the trail and they start to hang out together for some period of time or for the rest of the time. So do you think that'd be a fun activity for a tramily?
Oh, absolutely.
Actually, I was gonna say yes, but like our tramily members, it's harder to keep in contact because we finished and we all go elsewhere. So I think even after the fact, it would be kind of nice to talk to them, see if that's something they want to try, and that way we can contact instead of right now. It's been like, okay, all of us can meet up for a phone call right now, but that sounds kind of nice just to keep the conversation going, but it doesn't have to be when all 4 of us can do it.
Yeah, and that's one of the big challenges between real-time, face-to-face, video or in-person conversation, trying to get people together in the same time, like we're doing right now. We're all in real time right now. That's hard, especially when you live in different time zones, and you've got different obligations and things like that. So that was really my last question is, can you envision a way of using Uchi to reconnect with some of the hikers that you met on trail, as a way to keep those relationships going post trail?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to try. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm more than happy to set you up with a couple of free Uchi tribes just to give it a try and see how it goes, you know?
Yeah,
Cool,
thank
cool.
you. Yeah, I'll have to talk to
Honestly,
them and see if that's something that they would be interested in as well.
For who?
For our family members, see if that's something that they would be interested in doing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Cool, cool. And Two Shoes, you were going to say something?
yeah. Basically, I was just gonna piggyback off of what she said. Yeah, I think it would be lovely, and I love the idea of you finish up the trail, and now what do you do? Because honestly, her and I were part of a group chat in WhatsApp that kind of fizzled out towards the end there. Like we all were in there saying, "Hey, here's our peak photo," and then we were able to see everybody else's, and it was really cool. But I haven't heard anything from it for like probably a few months. So this could be, just little fun little prompts. And if, let's say if I was the host or whatever, we could bring in some old memories and bring up some questions and see what everybody's view was on it, or if they got to experience a certain thing. So I really like that.
Yeah, that's exactly the whole purpose, you know? And what I've learned, and, again, I've mentioned before, but, I've been doing triathlon for 23 years. And what I've learned is you cannot exercise away your emotional pain. It's still going to be there if you don't have these healthy relationships. And what I've learned, again, through using the Uchi app myself and with enough people who have used it, is that if you don't continue to nurture each area of health, then it will degrade, right? If you don't keep up with your fitness and good nutrition, then your physical health will degrade, or your sleep, right? You've mentioned sleep and water. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
keep up with your sleep and water and electrolytes through the day, you know, you're going to start to deteriorate, and then it's going to start impacting your mental health, your emotional health. Your mental health. Then you scream or yell at your partner. Now you have a big argument, and But if you don't nurture these, and emotional health works the same way, and I've noticed this even with my own family. I noticed that after about 2 weeks of using Uchi, the arguments just stop, like, because we all feel heard and understood. And we've maintained that for months and months and months and months and months. But then we took a break from using Uchi and we stopped. And within about 2 to 3 weeks, arguments started happening. I started feeling like my parents aren't listening to me anymore because we weren't regularly nurturing our relationships, our emotional health. So that's what I've learned about emotional. And then when you're upset emotionally and when you're in pain, a person's going to do anything to ease their pain. And in the absence of nurturing our emotional health, we end up turning to behavior, drugs, alcohol, dive into work, eat some ice cream to feel better, whatever it happens to be. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really what Uchi's all about. Is there any advice you want to leave through hikers for the future? Any lessons learned, or any story or tidbit of information that you didn't get to share, but think could be really helpful to the AT community or to the mental emotional health community?
I had heard it quite a few times, and I'm sure you've probably heard of this phrase. It's hike your own hike. I've heard of a lot of people who are somewhat judgmental of how others were to hike or go about how they, spend their entire journey, whether it be emotionally, physically, socially, spiritually, any of those things. And I would very much subscribe to the philosophy of hike your own hike. So anything that you do that you want to do, that's going to be the right thing to do. Now, listening to others and like getting some guidance and assistance, that is all wonderful and great. I would highly urge most people to listen to everything you can, but take it with a grain of salt and cater it towards your needs. So if there's somebody saying this is the right way to hike and is completely different from the way you hike and you think they're right, you can attempt it, but my best advice would be, okay, go slowly introduce new things, and definitely, branch out. Don't stay in this one thing unless it works for you. Uh, but I think the best thing to do is find what works for you, and don't go from doing one thing and completely changing in a day. Progression is the best way to go, in
Cool.
my personal experience.
Cool.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. You didn't miss much, but yeah, that's great. Thank you. So hike your own hike, do your thing, and don't make any big drastic changes, unless it's, really warranted.
Mm-hmm.
Giggles, any last bit of advice or story or anything you want to share with the thru-hiking community?
I would say for people who are interested in doing the trail, like we had a lot of people tell us like, "Oh, that's incredible what you're doing. I could never do that." And it's just like, you can. I mean, there's a lot of things you have to work out beforehand, like getting time off work, like that kind of stuff. But like, you don't have to be like some crazy fitness athlete or whatever. Like, we're just normal people, and people can do it regardless. I think the biggest thing that prepared us was just talking about certain like having that open communication beforehand, and where we kind of, okay, what's something that when I get angry I usually do this, and then or when I'm hungry I usually like start to snap at other people. So it's like just kind of talking about like that kind of scenarios and talking through those beforehand prepared us for when it actually happened, so it wasn't as big of a deal. And then just kind of looking into some basics on backpacking or that kind of thing. Like if you just, there's a lot of information out there, and I think lots of people can do it. They just put this limit on themselves just because it's a big undertaking. So yeah, go out and try it. It's definitely doable. It's something that you can do. So go out and try it because it's an amazing experience.
Beautiful. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, thank you guys both for being part of this really special conversation. I hope it was fun for you and insightful for our listeners and the backpacking community. To all of you out there, please share your thoughts and perspectives below. If you have any questions of your own, feel free to leave them in the comments. And until next time, peace, love, and connect.
Woohoo! Kevin, thank you for this opportunity. This was really awesome, and I got to share the fish story and the peanut butter thing. So it was really fun to be able to learn from each other and be able to reflect on this experience.
Cool.
Yeah, like you said, learning from each other. You had a lot of thoughtful questions that I hadn't really processed through, but then like the different definitions of health, that was really cool to hear your perspective on that, and kind of got me thinking a bit. So I appreciate all of the deep conversations we've had.
Cool. Yeah, we did go into some deeper stuff. So, well,
Yeah.
thank you guys both, and hopefully we'll see you on the trail.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks, Kevin.